Let's move on to our top story. The plot thickens at This Morning as the former host, Eamon Holmes, makes the scathing accusation that there was a total cover-up over Phillip Schofield's affair with a younger man.
He insists bosses simply had to know about the relationship because the man would be ferried between Schofield's flat and the studios, all in taxis, which were paid for by ITV.
Well, Eamon even lifted the lid on Schofield's, what he described as playtime Thursdays. Eamon said that Phillip would allegedly take his lover out for dates, all while still married to his wife.
Joining us live now is the Sun on Sunday's Bazaar editor Hannah Hope and brand consultant Marcel Knobil. You first, Hannah. Well, you've been leading the charge, writing a lot of stories about this amazing saga at ITV. And Eamon Holmes last night in a television interview very much made the plot thicken, as we've just said. He said that this is definitely a cover-up, that lots of people knew, executives, Holly, his co-stars, his colleagues, and certainly when you look at a lot of the pictures of this young employee, of Phil and Holly together at various events, including, incredibly, at one point on stage at the NTA Awards, as they picked up the award that they win every year for Best Daytime Programme, it is hard to believe that absolutely no one at This Morning or ITV had any idea that Phil and this guy had more than just a friendship.
You're right. What we're seeing is lots of evidence that this runner, who was pretty young, was receiving some kind of preferential treatment, but going up on stage to pick up the award alongside top talent and the executive producer when you're a relatively young runner, when lots of, usually that sort of calibre of crew would be watching right from the back of the auditorium or even from another room. So he's showing that he, was able to kind of get really close-up access. And then these bombshell accusations last night from Eamon Holmes saying that he was ferried in ITV cars. You are starting to see a bit of a broader picture of this chap being able to get real kind of special treatment on the show.
Because, Hannah, the problem is when quizzed about this, ITV said, look, we investigated. Both of them said, no, we deny all accusations there's a relationship here. But it looks like now with the unpicking of exactly what you've just laid out there, footage, maybe people did know more than they let on.
Well, certainly if you speak to anyone who worked at This Morning during that time, everyone said that everyone just knew it was an unspoken kind of secret and you just let it get on with it, and they didn't feel that they were at the level to raise the alarm. But when we have heard stories of people raising the alarm with Caroline McCall's right-hand man, they didn't do anything. Well, the length of their investigation was simply asking Phil a question and drawing the line at that. So you now think that potentially an outside investigation needs to happen to get to the bottom of it.
Indeed, that you're exactly right, Hannah, and that was the point that Eamon made. And I was making this point yesterday, Rosie. ITV keep telling us that we had an investigation then, we launched an investigation then. I think I've counted about 4 times when they said we investigated this relationship. As Eamon said last night, what was the nature of this investigation? They went to Phil Schofield and said, are you having an affair with this guy? No, I'm not. They go to the guy, were you having an affair with Phil? No, I'm not. Oh, well, that's it. Investigation over. So these investigations, the allegation is, were, to say the least, not rigorous. And ITV, if it is to clear its name here, if it is to come out of this shambles with any kind of credibility, is going to have to have a proper investigation about what really went on. Am I right? Because, as you rightly say, when they start using company taxis to ferry him to Phil's flat, this becomes a corporate issue.
Absolutely, and there is, Nadine Dorries raised at the weekend that there was a bit of a duty of care and safeguarding of this young adult when he was going from education into his first full-time role. How was it allowed that he was spending all this time with a much older, very senior member of staff? I mean, that looks like an abuse of power, doesn't it? I know that, I don't know, but if you look at the facts and the picture that's forming, it does look like an abuse of power. We're told that Holly Willoughby is going to be back on the sofa as it stands on Monday, and that's going to be very interesting viewing. And I do wonder if between now and then, if the show does go ahead, if one of the big heads will roll. I'm talking, maybe Martin Frizzell, Kevin Lygo, Caroline McCall.
We're talking about the chief executive, the chief of ITV, and the editor of This Morning. They're 3 very powerful figures. Yeah.
In the meantime, with us on the programme is Marcel Knobil, sort of the brand guru. Marcel, listening to all of this, there's two problems, isn't it? There's sort of brand this morning and then also brand ITV. How much damage do you think has been done?
I think this is an extremely uncomfortable time for both the brands. It really does look like that ITV have closed their eyes and closed the curtains. And that is not a good look at all, especially when they were preaching about honesty and integrity, giving that as a reason for Phil leaving. And then the question is very much hanging over them on those very important brand values.
Marcel, do you think they can save the This Morning brand? And furthermore, do you think Holly is a viable proposition going forward? Because she is toxically linked, if you like, by association with Phillip Schofield. She insists she knew nothing of this relationship. Let's put it this way, a lot of people are questioning her insistence. If the show is to survive, surely the way forward would be for Holly to move on to new projects and for a whole new cast to present the show. But do you think maybe that things are so bad, so toxic, that This Morning itself cannot survive?
It's a really difficult predicament because Holly has been such an important ingredient of This Morning. It almost feels like, you know, can you have a Malteser without the honeycomb in the middle? She's been a vital element. And the big question is would ITV be prepared to drop an asset that they really have to a certain extent in the last years been building their brand around? I think they will still try and build it round Holly, but I think there needs to be heads rolling from a corporate perspective to both help ITV brand and This Morning.
Hannah, this leaves ITV in a very, very tricky situation. This Morning is never going to look the same as it did before because the two main presenters, we're never going to see Phillip Schofield on that sofa again. Also, there are difficulties with their other fantastic pairing, Ant and Dec. They've had some, as we know very well on this channel, very high-profile departures from ITV. They've kind of got form for slightly catastrophic exits of very well-known, well-loved, famous presenters.
You're right. And what's interesting, actually, is Phil was part of the YMU showbiz management stable. They dropped him like a hot potato on Friday. Part-owned the company, had shares in the company. So they've said, nope, he's no longer with us. But it does cast into doubt YMU. Did they know? What is their duty of care with their own members of staff? Are they involved in cover-ups? They also look after Ant and Dec and Simon Cowell, who's obviously hosting PGT this whole week. So you're right, it does bring into consideration the rest of big ITV talent. So
the essence of the drama now is who knew what and when. And the epicenter of that drama is, did Holly know things and when? That is the problem. Marcel just said that he thinks Holly will come back. I'm very doubtful about that, aren't you?
It's a really interesting one because more and more pictures are emerging of her with the runner at various different events. Even there's one that's just been released today of him kissing her on the cheek. So she said she didn't know. She said she was lied to by Phillip. But lots of people are asking questions and she's in a vulnerable position, I think it's fair to say.
Marcel, what do you make of brand Holly Willoughby? Because it goes so far beyond This Morning. All of her commercial deals, her own sort of website, Wild Moon, then she's got her partnerships with Marks and Spencer's. She will need, and she'll be trying, I should say, to cling on to as much of that as possible.
Absolutely. And one's seen brands immediately abdicate from their associations with the likes, for example, of O.J. Simpson and Lance Armstrong. And Holly will very much be hoping that she wouldn't be in any way affected in that way. It is concerning because Marks and Spencer is all about being honest and savoury. So she and her team will be doing all they can to protect what has been an incredibly strong, attractive and appealing personality brand.
Indeed. Now, the thing is now, Hannah, going forward, what do ITV do in terms of the allegations, the serious accusations that Eamon Holmes made last night? Eamon Holmes, part of the This Morning family for 15 years, a very experienced, very respected voice. He has accused this major public corporation of lying to the public and orchestrating a massive cover-up to cover up for Phillip Schofield's alleged office romance with a young man 34 years his junior. Those are serious allegations. Now, ITV so far seem to have been like a fox caught in the headlights in this entire saga, not doing anything. Pretty soon, they're going to have to do something. Surely some head is going to have to roll. They're going to have to make a gesture to say we are responding to this situation, because so far, apart from Schofield going, they haven't really responded in any way whatsoever, have they?
They seem to be in complete panic mode, you're right. I do wonder if we're going to see a sacrificial lamb sooner rather than later. We know as well that Arnold Clark, the sponsor of This Morning, have withdrawn their sponsorship as of next season, so in September. So they are losing viewers, they're losing trust, and they're also losing advertisers, which is when it gets really serious, because that's where the money comes from. I think we need to see one of the big heads step away, maybe step down. And I also think we need to see an internal investigation done by an outside organisation, just to show that they do care about what's happening and what has been accused of them, especially on the eve of Love Island, when that's all about a duty of care. And we've seen some terrible situations with contestants taking their own life.
What is it that you think they'll be investigating? Because Phillip Schofield said, look, I lied and I lied and I lied. Is it that the suspicion is that ITV did know more and they, as Eamon Holmes suggested, just covered it up? What is the investigation that you think should actually take place?
I think it's about welfare of their staff and a duty of care and safeguarding. Did they take advantage of a very young employee who was just starting out in his career?
Did a lot of people at ITV, including Holly Willoughby, this is just the question, did a lot of executives, colleagues, Holly Willoughby, did they know something was going on that wasn't right and turned a blind eye to it? That's what that investigation has to establish. Because frankly, this wall of I didn't know, I had no idea is really, really hard to believe.
It beggars belief, absolutely. So I do hope that even as an organisation, and for the people currently working there who are all very nervous about the future of their jobs, I know, I hope that there is some internal announcements soon.
Just to put Holly's side of this, she's made a very brief statement, but what she said is, I am really hurt, and that she's been betrayed, that someone we were told was one of her fiercest friends and her fiercest colleague and her ally had lied to her all this time. There's no concrete evidence to suggest Holly wasn't just deceived for all that time.
Absolutely. I mean, Holly has publicly said she was lied to by Phillip. She didn't know.
And Phillip said he lied to her as well.
Exactly. So he's admitted that he's lied. And so, you know, Holly, by all intents and purposes, potentially hasn't done any wrongdoing. She's just been getting on, putting her head down and trying her best and successfully making This Morning the brand that it is. But has she lost the trust of the viewers? It remains to be seen.
Let's just before you go, at the base of this, I kept trying to stress this yesterday. The problem for ITV here is you had this couple, the golden couple, Phil and Holly, on the sofa for, 10 years, selling them the image of the TV husband and wife. We're such great friends. Look at us, we're great friends on screen, we're great friends off screen. This morning, the happy, snappy show to start your day the sunshine way. We're so happy here, everything's wonderful. It turns out that was or the allegation is, but I think it's a pack of lies. These two people were not friends. They became almost enemies. We know this. Both of them have said so. So that was a lie. Plus the whole ethos of the show, it's happy, it's shiny, it's sunshiny, was a lie. Now, the public do not like that, and they have found out. They've been found out, these people, and the public are reacting with their off switch, aren't they?
Absolutely, and I think the other thing is the public don't like to be made to feel dumbed down. Have ITV treated their viewers as being stupid? And I think that's the key, isn't it? They've just thought that ITV potentially have thought they can just get away with it, and I think that the viewers deserve more.
Hannah Hope, showbiz journalist at The Sun, Bizarre editor, thank you very much. And thank you very much, Marcel Knobil.